Ever feel like you're just going through the motions, stuck in that day-to-day grind, and then suddenly something happens, throws you for a loop, push you on a path you never saw coming?
Yeah, kind of like a good movie, right?
Exactly. That's the hero's journey in a nutshell. And today, we're diving deep into a video that tackles this whole concept using the movie Exodus, Gods and Kings.
But get this, it also ties in the Enneagram.
Okay, now that's a twist. I'm intrigued. So where do we even begin with this whole epic journey thing?
Well, it all starts with something called the ordinary world. It's like stage 0. And this stage, it's all about Enneagram Type 9, the peacemaker.
Okay, I'm following. Type 9, the peacemaker. So how does that relate to, like, the hero's journey?
So picture Moses before he finds out about his heritage, his Hebrew roots. He's living this life of luxury, totally clueless about who he really is. He's basically living a textbook Type 9 life, happy with the way things are, avoiding conflict like it's the plague, no pun intended.
Right. Avoiding those tough conversations, those big decisions, who needs them?
Exactly. The video, it actually calls this a slumber of psychological blindness, which I think is spot on. It's like you're kind of sleepwalking through life, just going with the flow, not really seeing what's right in front of you.
Been there, done that. So how does Moses get shaken out of this comfortable bubble he's in?
That, my friend, is where the call to adventure comes in. Stage 1. And this is where we see that Type 1 energy, that righteous anger start to bubble up.
Just one, the reformer, right? Always fighting for what they believe is right.
Exactly. And when Moses finds out about his Hebrew roots, his whole world is turned upside down. He pushes back hard. He just refuses to accept this truth because it disrupts that sense of order he's built around himself.
It's that knee-jerk reaction, right? Nope. No way, this can't be happening. You've got the wrong guy.
Exactly. And the video really emphasizes how important this resistance is, how it's actually a good thing. Because even at this early stage, the hero, they need to wrestle with this call, to question it. That struggle, it's what fuels their growth.
So it's not about blindly accepting this call to adventure. You got to work for it a little.
Exactly. It's about moving from that state of inertia to a place where you're ready to take action, even if you're terrified of what lies ahead. And this is where that Type 1 energy really shines, that drive to fight for what they believe in, even when it's hard, even when it means going against the grain.
It's kind of like that feeling you get when you're about to do something that scares you.
Yeah.
But you know deep down you have to do it.
You hit the nail on the head, and that's when a little guidance can be super helpful.
So I want to give you that extra push.
Exactly. And that's where stage 2 comes in, meeting the mentor, which brings in that nurturing, supportive energy of Type 2, the giver. We see this through that messenger character, the one who's like a conduit for God's guidance.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. It's about Moses opening himself up to help, recognizing that he can't do this alone, which can be a tough pill to swallow, especially for someone used to being in control.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something the video touches on, how important it is for the hero, especially those who identify with that Type 1 energy, to learn to accept help. Because no one, not even the most epic hero, can do it all alone.
So true. We all need a little help sometimes, right?
100%. And this guidance, it becomes even more crucial as the challenges start piling up, which brings us to stage 3, crossing the first threshold. This is where we see that Type 3 energy come alive, ambition, a drive to prove yourself. This is where Moses leaves his old life behind and really steps into the unknown.
So it's like he's saying, okay, I'm here. Let's do this thing.
You got it. He starts training the Hebrew army, leading those initial battles against the Egyptians. He's stepping into this leadership role, even if it feels a little like he's faking it till he makes it.
Because deep down, there's still a part of him that's terrified,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And that's totally normal. That's part of the journey. This stage is all about pushing past those fears, proving to himself and everyone else that he's capable of so much more than he ever thought possible.
It's giving, I'm not sure I could do this, but I'm going to give it my all anyway vibes.
Yes. It's that leap of faith, that willingness to embrace the unknown, even if you don't feel ready. And it's usually not long after this that things get really, really real.
Because the deeper you go into the hero stuff, the less you can ignore those inner demons.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what stage 4 is all about, the innermost cave. This is where the hero has to confront their deepest fears, their doubts, all those parts of themselves they'd rather keep hidden. And in the movie, it's so beautifully portrayed in that raw, intense conversation Moses has with the messenger about the plagues. You can just feel the weight of the world on his shoulders.
He's really starting to grasp the gravity of the situation, isn't he?
Absolutely. And he's wrestling with the consequences of his actions.
Because those plagues, They're no joke.
Right, and that's what makes this stage so powerful. It forces the hero to confront their shadow self, to acknowledge those parts of themselves they'd rather keep hidden. And it's not pretty. In fact, it's usually messy and painful, but it's a necessary part of the transformation.
It's like ripping off a bandage has got to happen, even if it stings like hell.
Exactly. And in Moses's case, this inner turmoil, it's compounded by the fact that he's dealing with some seriously heavy stuff. I mean, we're talking about plagues of biblical proportions here. And it's in these moments of intense struggle that we start to see the emergence of that type 4 energy, the individualist.
The sensitive, introspective type. Always digging deep, questioning everything. So how does that play out in this stage?
Well, think about it. The individualists, they're all about authenticity, about embracing their true selves, even the messy parts. And in this stage, Moses, he's forced to do just that. He's stripped bare, forced to confront his deepest fears and insecurities. And it's in those moments of raw vulnerability that he starts to understand the true cost of his calling, the sacrifices that come with being a leader.
Because it's not all sunshine and roses, is it?
Yeah.
Being a hero, it's tough work.
Tell me about it. And it's in these moments of doubt, these moments of intense questioning, that the hero has a choice to make. Do they retreat back into the comfort of their old life, their old self? Or do they push forward, embracing the uncertainty of the journey ahead?
Because there's no turning back now.
Right.
He's in too deep.
Exactly. And that's what makes this stage such a pivotal turning point in the hero's journey. It's the moment when they have to decide who they're going to be, the person they were before the call, or the hero they're destined to become.
And he's got the weight of all those lives, all those expectations on his shoulders. It's no wonder he's questioning everything.
Exactly. And that's where we really see the power of the stage, the ordeal. It's not just about some external threat, some big bad villain you have to defeat. It's about facing the consequences of your choices, owning up to the fact that even with the best intentions, sometimes things go wrong.
And you can't just hit the undo button, can you? You have to deal with the fallout.
Exactly. The ordeal, it's that crucible, that moment of truth where you can't hide from yourself anymore. And in Moses' case, the ordeal takes the form of that final plague, the death of the firstborn sons.
It's heavy stuff. I mean, talk about a moral dilemma. Even if it's ultimately about liberation, about freeing the Israelites from slavery, that's a heavy burden to carry.
Absolutely. It forces him to confront the cost of his actions, to grapple with the question of whether the ends justify the means. And it's in those moments of intense struggle that we see what Moses is truly made of.
So what happens next? Does he just crumble under the weight of it all?
That's the amazing thing about the hero's journey. It's in those moments where you'd expect them to break, that they find a new kind of strength, a deeper understanding of themselves. And that brings us to stage 5, reward. Seizing the sword.
So is this like that moment in a video game where you finally defeat the boss and collect your reward?
Kind of, but it's not just about some external prize or recognition. It's about the internal shift that happens, the realization that you've overcome something significant. And for Moses, this stage is linked to the energy of type 5, the investigator.
The investigator always searching for knowledge, trying to make sense of the world around them. So how does that tie into this stage of the journey?
Well, think about it. Moses has just gone through this incredibly intense emotional experience, and now, with the Israelites finally freed from Egypt, he's faced with a whole new set of challenges.
Like, okay, we're free. Now what?
Exactly. And that's where that type 5 energy comes in. He starts thinking strategically, analyzing the situation, figuring out the logistics of leading his people through the wilderness.
He's gone from wrestling with these huge moral dilemmas to, like, okay, how are we going to find food and water for all these people?
Precisely. It's that shift from emotional intensity to practical problem solving. He's integrating the lessons of the ordeal, channeling that experience into action.
He's leveling up. He's not just reacting to the situation anymore. He's taking charge, becoming the leader he was always meant to be.
Exactly. And there's always a but in the hero's journey, isn't there? That doesn't mean it's all smooth sailing from here.
Because the journey's not over just because you've faced down your demons and achieved a major victory.
Not even close. Because the road back home, the return to the familiar, it's rarely a straight line.
Cue the dramatic music and the pursuing Egyptian army.
You know it. That's stage 6, the road back. And it's often depicted as this chase scene, this final confrontation with the forces that tried to hold the hero back.
Because just when you think you're in the clear, life throws another curveball your way.
And it can make you want to just give up, crawl back into your comfort zone and pretend this whole hero thing never happened.
Oh, I feel that in my soul. But in Moses' case, there's no turning back. He's come too far, sacrificed too much.
Exactly. And that's where the energy of type 6, the skeptic, comes into play. Because this stage, it's all about facing those lingering doubts and fears, even when you thought you'd left them behind.
The skeptic, always questioning, always anticipating problems. It sounds kind of exhausting, to be honest.
It can be, but it's also what makes them so resilient. Because they're always prepared for the worst case scenario. And in this stage, that skepticism can be the very thing that saves the hero from making a fatal mistake.
It's like you're constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
And sometimes it does. But here's the thing about the road back. It's not about avoiding those doubts and fears. It's about confronting them head on, using them to fuel your courage, not your paralysis.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you've got the Egyptian army hot on your heels.
Well, that's why they call it an ordeal, right? It's meant to test you, to push you to your limits and see what you're really made of. And in Exodus, it culminates in that epic showdown at the Red Sea.
Talk about a between a rock and a hard place situation. The Israelites are trapped with nowhere to go. I mean, how do you even begin to process that kind of pressure?
That's the beauty of this stage. It forces the hero to let go of everything they thought they knew, everything they thought they could control, and surrender to something bigger than themselves.
So it's not just about Moses parting the Red Sea. It's about him letting go of his doubts, his fears, his need to control everything.
Exactly. It's about trusting that even when things seem impossible, there's a way forward.
And that's stage 7, resurrection atonement, right? It's like a baptism by Red Sea.
It's a powerful image of transformation, of shedding the old self and emerging as something new. And what's interesting is that this stage is often linked to type 7 energy, the enthusiast.
The enthusiast always looking for the silver lining, the next adventure. So how does that fit in with this whole death and rebirth thing?
Well, think about it. Type 7s, they're all about reframing difficult situations, finding the joy even in the midst of chaos. And in this stage, the hero needs that kind of energy to keep moving forward, to see the possibility of a brighter future, even when they're surrounded by darkness.
Because it would be pretty easy to get bogged down in the whole almost died in a desert thing, wouldn't it?
Right. But the resurrection, it's about more than just physical survival. It's about spiritual renewal, about stepping into a new level of awareness and understanding. And it's from this place of renewed purpose that the hero embarks on that final stage, stage 8. Master of two worlds, returning with the elixir.
Okay, so what does that even mean? Master of two worlds. Sounds kind of mystical.
It is, in a way. It's about integrating the lessons of the journey, the wisdom gained through those trials and tribulations, and bringing it back to the ordinary world.
So it's not about staying in that elevated state forever. You have to come back down to earth eventually.
Exactly. But you're not the same person who left. You've changed, grown, evolved, and now you have the opportunity to use those experiences, those hard-won lessons, to make a difference in the world. And in Exodus, we see this as Moses returning to his people, not just as a leader, but as a lawgiver, someone who brings order to chaos, who helps establish a new society based on those higher principles he discovered on his journey.
So he's not just bringing back the 10 Commandments. He's bringing back a whole new way of being, a new understanding of what it means to be free.
Exactly. And that's the ultimate goal of the hero's journey. It's not just about personal transformation. It's about using that transformation to make a positive impact on the world around you, to inspire others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery. And what's so cool about this video is how it ties all of this back to the Enneagram. It shows us that no matter what our type, we all have the potential to be heroes in our own lives and in the lives of others.
So it's not just a fun way to analyze movies. It actually has practical applications for our own lives.
Absolutely, because we all face challenges, we all have doubts and fears, and we all have moments where we're called to step outside our comfort zones and embrace the unknown.
We've all got our own Red Seas to part, so to speak.
Exactly. But by understanding the hero's journey, by recognizing those universal stages of transformation, we can approach those challenges with more courage, more resilience, and maybe even a little bit of excitement.
Because who doesn't love a good adventure, right?
Exactly. And that's what life is at its core. It's an adventure. And whether we realize it or not, we're all on a hero's journey of our own.
So true. Well, that was quite a journey. We went from the deserts of ancient Egypt to the depths of our own psyches. What a deep dive.